The divorce papers slid across the polished oak table and stopped directly in front of me. My husband didn't look angry. He didn't look sad. That was the worst part. He looked relieved. "I can't do this anymore, Emily." The words hit harder than a slap. Outside the lawyer's office window, rain streaked down the glass. Inside, everything felt painfully quiet. I stared at the papers, then at the man I'd spent 11 years loving. "You're really leaving me?" I whispered. Ryan folded his arms. "We've spent years trying." My throat tightened. "We said we'd keep trying." "No." His voice hardened. "You said that." The lawyer shifted uncomfortably in his chair. I looked down at the papers again. Reason for divorce. Irreconcilable differences. Such a clean phrase for something so cruel. Ryan leaned forward. "I want children, Emily." Tears blurred my vision. "I know. And you can't give me that." The room suddenly felt too small. For 6 years we'd lived inside hospitals. Blood tests. Hormone treatments. Specialists. Procedures. Hope. Disappointment. Repeat. 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 Each failure carved another wound into my heart. And now the man who promised to stand beside me through everything was walking away because of it. "You promised," I said. Ryan's eyes flickered. "People change." "No. People quit." His jaw tightened. For a second, guilt flashed across his face. Then it disappeared. The lawyer cleared his throat. "If you need more time, I'll sign." Both men looked surprised. Honestly, so was I. But suddenly I was exhausted. Tired of fighting. Tired of begging. Tired of feeling broken. I signed my name. Emily Carter. 11 years of marriage ended in 5 seconds. Ryan stared at the signature. Something strange crossed his face. Not happiness. Not regret. Something else. Fear. But before I could understand it, he stood. "Take care of yourself." I laughed bitterly. "That's all you have to say?" His mouth opened. Then closed. Without another word, he walked out. And just like that, my husband became a stranger. 3 months later, I was standing in the grocery store trying not to cry over cereal. It sounds ridiculous. But grief works in strange ways. One moment you're functioning. The next you're staring at your ex-husband's favorite cereal and fighting tears. "Excuse me." A voice interrupted my misery. I looked up. An elderly woman smiled warmly. "You look like someone who could use a hug." A surprised laugh escaped me. I must look terrible. "No." She reached for a box on the top shelf. "You look heartbroken." The accuracy made my chest ache. I helped her place the cereal into her cart. "My husband left me." The words came out before I could stop them. The woman nodded. "Mine did too." I blinked. "What?" "When he died." For a moment I stared. Then she winked. And somehow, despite everything, I laughed. A real laugh. The first one in months. "That's awful." "I know." She smiled. "But life keeps moving." Before leaving, she squeezed my hand. "Don't let one person decide your worth." I watched her disappear down the aisle. At the time, I had no idea those words would change everything. 2 weeks later, my best friend Lily burst into my apartment without knocking. She always did that. "Sit down." I frowned. "Good morning to you too." "Sit." Her face was pale. Serious. Terrified. A knot formed in my stomach. What happened? She held up her phone. "You need to see this." I looked. And my heart stopped. A photo filled the screen. Ryan. My ex-husband. Standing beside a beautiful blonde woman. His arm wrapped around her waist. They were smiling. But that wasn't what shattered me. It was her stomach. Round. Pregnant. Very pregnant. The photo caption read, 28 weeks today. We can't wait to meet you, little one. I couldn't breathe. Ryan had divorced me barely 5 months ago. And now his girlfriend was 7 months pregnant. Lily looked sick. Oh my God. The math slammed into me like a truck. 28 weeks. 7 months. My hand started shaking. Ryan had gotten another woman pregnant while we were still married. The room spun. Every fertility appointment. Every tear. Every promise. Every lie. All of it crashed together. He cheated. Lily nodded slowly. I felt something inside me break. Not sadness. Not grief. Something colder. Something sharper. Betrayal. That night I sat alone in my apartment staring at the photograph. 4 hours. Until one detail caught my attention. A detail so small most people would never notice. The woman was wearing a hospital bracelet. The name of a fertility clinic was printed on it. I zoomed in. My breath caught. Not just any fertility clinic. The exact same clinic Ryan and I had used. A chill crawled down my spine. Because suddenly a terrifying question entered my mind. What if Ryan had lied about more than cheating? And what if the real reason we never had children wasn't me at all? I picked up my phone and stared at the fertility specialist's number. Then I pressed call. And what the doctor told me the next morning would destroy everything I thought I knew about my marriage. The next morning, I sat in my car outside the fertility clinic for nearly 20 minutes before gathering the courage to go inside. My palms were sweating. My heart wouldn't slow down. The building looked exactly the same as it had during the darkest years of my marriage. The same glass doors. The same waiting room. The same smiling photographs of babies hanging on the walls. Back then, every picture felt like a promise. Now they felt like ghosts. A receptionist recognized me immediately. Emily? I forced a smile. Hi. It's been a while. I nodded. Far too long. A few minutes later, I was sitting across from Dr. Michael Harris. The man who had overseen nearly every fertility test Ryan and I had ever taken. His expression softened when he saw me. I'm sorry about your divorce. I swallowed. Thank you. He folded his hands. What can I help you with? For several seconds, I couldn't speak. Then I pulled out my phone. I saw this online. I showed him the picture of Ryan and the pregnant woman. Something flickered across his face. Recognition. My stomach tightened. You know her? Dr. Harris immediately became careful. Very careful. As a physician, there are confidentiality rules. Please. My voice cracked. I just need one answer. He studied me quietly. What answer? I leaned forward. Was I really the reason Ryan and I couldn't have children? The room became painfully silent. Dr. Harris looked down at his desk. Then back at me. And in that moment, I knew. I knew before he even spoke. His eyes told me everything. Emily. My heart pounded. No. His voice was gentle. No, you weren't. The world stopped. I stared at him. Certain I had heard wrong. What? Dr. Harris exhaled heavily. There were some issues with your hormone levels years ago, but those were treatable. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. What are you saying? He hesitated. Then finally answered. The primary fertility problem was never yours. The room blurred. It felt like someone had punched me in the chest. It was Ryan. I sat frozen. The words echoed inside my head. Ryan. 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 Not me. Him. The man who blamed me. The man who left me. The man who made me feel broken. Dr. Harris looked uncomfortable. As I said, there are limits to what I can discuss. But I wasn't listening anymore. Memories were exploding inside my mind. Ryan refusing to talk after appointments. Ryan insisting on handling medical paperwork. Ryan always opening test results first. Ryan telling me doctors said my body wasn't responding. Ryan holding me while I cried. Ryan whispering. It's okay, Em. We'll keep trying. Every single memory suddenly looked different. Every single one. My chest felt tight. Did he know? The question came out barely above a whisper. Dr. Harris didn't answer. He didn't need to. The silence said enough. Ryan knew. The entire time. I don't remember driving home. I only remember standing in my apartment staring at the wall. 4 hours. 11 years. 11 years of believing I had failed him. 11 years of guilt. 11 years of self-hatred. And it had all been built on a lie. My phone buzzed. Lily. I answered immediately. What happened? 1 second of silence. Then I started crying. Not softly. Not gracefully. I completely fell apart. For 20 minutes I told her everything. When I finally finished, Lily was silent. Then she said 3 words. I'm going over. An hour later, we sat on my living room floor surrounded by takeout containers neither of us was eating. Lily looked furious. The kind of furious that made people cross the street. He destroyed your self-esteem. I nodded. He stole years of your life. I nodded again. He made you think you were broken. That one hurt the most. Because it was true. For years, every Mother's Day felt like punishment. Every baby shower felt like humiliation. Every pregnancy announcement felt like a reminder of what I thought I couldn't give Ryan. And through all of it, he'd known. Lily shook her head. I can't believe this. Neither could I. Then my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Lily. It was an unknown number. I almost ignored it. Something made me answer. Hello? A woman spoke. Soft. Nervous. Emily? My stomach dropped. Who's this? A pause. Then. My name is Claire. I immediately recognized the name. Ryan's pregnant girlfriend. The room suddenly felt cold. What do you want? Claire inhaled shakily. I need to talk to you. I nearly laughed. Why? Because Ryan lied to both of us. Every muscle in my body froze. Lily's eyes widened. I switched the phone to speaker. What are you talking about? Claire sounded close to tears. I didn't know you existed until 6 months ago. I exchanged a stunned look with Lily. What? He told me he was divorced years before we met. My heart sank. Of course he had. Claire continued. And that's not the worst part. A knot formed in my stomach. What else? Silence. Then. I'm not pregnant. The words didn't make sense. I looked at the photo again. The obvious baby bump. The pregnancy announcement. 28 weeks. What are you talking about? Claire started crying. The baby isn't mine. I felt dizzy. What? It's my sister's. My mind went blank. Nothing about this conversation made sense anymore. Claire struggled to compose herself. Ryan asked me to pretend. Lily whispered. Oh my God. Claire continued. He said his family was pressuring him. He wanted everyone to believe he was finally becoming a father. The room spun. This wasn't just lying. This was insanity. He paid my sister thousands of dollars. I felt sick. He what? To fake the pregnancy online. A horrifying realization crept into my mind. If there was no baby, then Ryan still didn't have a child. After everything he'd done. After destroying our marriage. After humiliating me. After blaming me. He still wasn't a father. And suddenly one question became impossible to ignore. Why would a man go to such extreme lengths to fake a pregnancy? Unless there was something even bigger he was hiding. Something far worse than I had imagined. Then Claire said the sentence that changed everything. Emily. Ryan recently got some new test results. My pulse pounded. What results? Her voice broke. The doctors told him he'll never be able to have biological children. The room fell silent. And for the first time since the divorce, I understood why Ryan had looked afraid when I signed those papers. Because he hadn't been escaping the truth. He had been running from it. But the truth was finally catching up. And it was about to destroy him. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Lily sat frozen beside me. Claire was crying softly through the phone. And I stared at the wall, trying to process what I had just heard. Ryan could never have biological children. Never. The same man who had blamed me for years. The same man who walked away because I couldn't give him a family. The irony was almost unbearable. But strangely, I didn't feel victorious. I felt sad. Because somewhere beneath all the anger, I remembered the man I had once loved. The man who used to bring me coffee every morning. The man who danced with me in our kitchen. The man who cried when we lost our first pregnancy. Had any of that been real? Or had it all been another lie? Emily? Claire's voice pulled me back. Yeah. I thought you deserved to know. I swallowed. Thank you. After we ended the call, Lily shook her head. I can't believe any of this. Neither could I. But the story wasn't over. Not even close. Because 3 days later, Ryan showed up at my door. I almost didn't recognize him. He looked older. Thinner. Exhausted. Like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. The confident man who had walked away from our marriage was gone. This version looked broken. When I opened the door, he froze. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then he said quietly. You know. I folded my arms. Which lie are we talking about? The pain in his eyes was immediate. Deserved. But real. He looked down. I deserve that. Yes. The word came out sharper than I intended. Ryan nodded. I know. Rain fell steadily outside. The same kind of rain that had fallen on the day of our divorce. Life had a strange sense of humor. What do you want? His voice cracked. I want to explain. I laughed bitterly. 11 years is a long explanation. For a moment, I thought he might leave. Instead, he asked. Can I come in? Every instinct screamed no. But another part of me needed answers. So I stepped aside. 20 minutes later, Ryan sat on the couch staring at his hands. I found out before you did. I already knew that. But hearing him say it still hurt. How long? He swallowed. Almost 7 years. I closed my eyes. 7 years. 7 years of lies. 7 years of watching me blame myself. 7 years of pretending. Why? His eyes filled with tears. Actual tears. I was terrified. I shook my head. That's not an answer. It is. His voice broke. You don't understand. Then help me understand. Ryan leaned forward. When the doctor told me. He stopped. Struggled. Then continued. I felt like less of a man. I stared at him. I was ashamed. His hands trembled. My father always talked about carrying on the family name. His laugh was hollow. My brothers all had children. The words poured out now. And there I was, broken. Broken. The same word I'd used to describe myself for years. Ryan wiped his eyes. I couldn't accept it. So you let me carry the blame? The question landed like a knife. He looked away. At first, I told myself I'd tell you eventually. I laughed once. Coldly. Eventually? Then months passed. His voice shook. Then years. I felt sick. You watched me cry. Yes. You watched me hate myself. Yes. You watched me think I wasn't enough. Tears rolled down his face. Yes. The honesty somehow hurt more than another lie. For the first time, Ryan looked exactly like what he was. Not a villain. Not a monster. A coward. A deeply broken coward. And sometimes cowards hurt people more than villains ever could. What happened next shocked me. Ryan reached into his jacket. And handed me an envelope. What is this? His voice was barely audible. Read it. I opened it slowly. Inside was a letter. A medical report. Recent test results. I skimmed the first page. Then stopped breathing. There was another diagnosis. One Ryan clearly hadn't known about years ago. A specialist had recently discovered the original fertility testing had been incomplete. Additional evaluations suggested something unexpected. Something extraordinary. I looked up. Ryan was crying openly now. What is this? His voice cracked. The doctor believes treatment might have worked. I stared at him. The hormone treatments. My heart started pounding. Ryan nodded. The room tilted. The doctor thinks. He whispered, you may have been able to conceive after all. For a second, I couldn't speak. Couldn't think. Couldn't move. All those years. All those sacrifices. All those lost possibilities. Our marriage might have survived. We might have had children. A family. A future. Everything had been possible. Everything. Ryan buried his face in his hands. I destroyed us for nothing. The pain in his voice filled the room. And for the first time I saw the full weight of what he'd done. Not just to me. To himself. He hadn't simply lost a wife. He had lost an entire life. One built on trust. Love. Partnership. Hope. All because he chose fear over honesty. A month later, Ryan's fake pregnancy scandal exploded. Friends discovered the truth. Family discovered the truth. Coworkers discovered the truth. The lies collapsed one after another. His reputation shattered. His relationship with Claire ended. Several family members stopped speaking to him. People weren't angry because he couldn't have children. They were angry because he had lied. For years. Meanwhile, something unexpected happened to me. I started living again. Really living. I joined a book club. Started traveling. Took photography classes. Made new friends. Slowly, the woman I had lost during my marriage began returning. One piece at a time. And for the first time in years, I felt whole. Not because of a man. Not because of motherhood. Not because of anyone else's approval. Because I finally understood something. My worth had never depended on my ability to have children. It never had. Almost a year later, I ran into Ryan unexpectedly. A small coffee shop downtown. He looked healthier. Calmer. still carrying sadness. But different somehow. He smiled softly. Emily. Ryan. We talked for a few minutes. Nothing dramatic. Nothing emotional. Just two people who once shared a life. As we prepared to leave, he stopped me. There isn't a day I don't regret it. I believed him. That was the tragedy. His regret was genuine. But some mistakes can't be undone. Some bridges stay burned. I smiled gently. I know. His eyes glistened. Then he nodded. And walked away. This time, I didn't watch him leave with heartbreak. I watched him leave with peace. Because the truth that destroyed Ryan wasn't that he couldn't have children. It wasn't the failed tests. It wasn't the fake pregnancy. It wasn't even the divorce. The truth that destroyed him was much simpler. He had someone who loved him completely. And he threw her away because he was too afraid to tell the truth. And once that truth was gone, no amount of regret could bring it back.